Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, How Do I Stop Believing I Am a Person? It's actually a question somebody asked, and the question is, Hi Nick, but how do I stop believing I am a person? Even if I notice that I am identifying as me, I still fully believe I am it. How do I recognize my true nature, my true being? Self-inquiry and meditation have not been helping. Okay. You can never recognize that you're not a person because from the starting point that you believe you're a person, there's nothing you can do about it. It's impossible. You see, that is the mind conceptualizing and trying to figure out if there's a way that I can experience myself as what I am while I am still having the experience of being a person. The fact is, you're not a person. That is a fact. You don't need to believe in it or not. That is the fact of what you are. The belief you're a person is a thought. And then here's when he gets, I see where you're coming from. He says, even if I notice that I am identified as me, well, who is that you who is saying, even if I notice that I am identified as me? You see, it's something that we can point to, but it's not something that you can experience because there's not a you to experience anything. That's where non-duality points to. Now, one of the things that I find is that the wanting to know that I'm not a person, which is not a conceptual understanding, it's just simply what is. Right now, you cannot negate the fact that you are. You see, right now you are being. Whilst words are coming, through this seeming me, while it seems as though you're looking at a video and you're watching a me, while it seems as though you're feeling sensations and everything, all of that is happening or seeming happening. But that seeming happening happens in what you are. Or put it this way, it appears as if it's happening in what you are. It's like if you're sleeping and you're dreaming, and in the dream you ask this question, how do I know that I am the mind? It's impossible to know it from the dream perspective because the dream is already the distraction to the mind. See, the mind doesn't know that it's being the mind, and consequently projecting a dream, all the attention is in the dream, and you can never know in the dream that you are the mind. So when you're saying here that even when you notice I'm still fully believe I am it, yes, from that point of reference you will always believe you are this body. Now I'll show you a couple of pointers, something which is sort of my experience, if you want to call it that way, before we go to the last part of your question. Right now, I am experiencing myself as a body. Not a problem with that. It's not that I believe I'm a body, or it's irrelevant, The fact is that if a car is going to run me over, me as a body, I'm going to run away. I will not find myself hitting a nail in my hand, or I'll hitting myself with a hammer unless I had a mental disorder. You see? So I still feel like I'm a person and everything, but there's a way of living this experience while at the same time not believing in it. In other words, not believing the content of the mind. If I know that I am, then whatever happens to the body or whatever seems to be happening in this seeming experience is not a distraction. It's just part of the play. But yet there's a knowing, you see, that is all a play and that I am. You see? Right now, you cannot negate the fact that you are being right now. But if you're trying to go to the mind to understand this, then you're completely in the mind. That's what I said. If you don't believe the content of the mind, what remains? And when I say don't answer me, it's because of that. The answer has to go through thought, through the mind. But right now, you are. And remember, these videos are paradoxical. When I give the example that if a car is going to run me over, I'll run away. Well, if you listen to these videos enough, you know that it's not me who runs away. It's that in the play, I am supposed to run away. Some may not run away. Maybe in the play, they're not supposed to run away. I don't know. So it's because I'm not the doer. That's clearly seen. But within the context, you know, that seems to be speaking of here, it seems as though if I feel that I want to go to the bathroom, I find myself going to the bathroom. If I feel like I'm hungry, it seems as though I feel moved to prepare something to eat, even though I know that it's not me doing it, it's just what happens. Okay? So, this idea of you trying to get to know who you are as that makes no sense. From the perspective of a person, it's impossible. But again, at least you can live in the world of appearances as if you are a person, or as you're appearing as a person, but with a recognition that I am. And that's where the videos are pointing to, you see. Right now you are. Right now I am. Don't try to conceptualize this in a sense that don't try to find an experience that you can say, oh, that is what it feels like not being a person. Because then I would say, and who is the one that is saying that is what it feels like not being a person? You see? So, once again, this question cannot be answered, but the experience of being, which is what you are right now, cannot be denied. Aliveness, however you want to call it, okay? Now, the last part of the question you say, how do I recognize my true being? We already went through that. You cannot recognize your true being because you are the true being that is being overlooked by that thought that says, how do I recognize my true being? So we're not even going to go there. The last part of the question you said, so how do I recognize my true being? Self-inquiry and meditation have not been helping. There's a reason why it doesn't help. Because the me who is doing the self-inquiry, the me who is doing the meditation is the obstacle. You see? In other words, if you're... Okay, this is a great... I've heard this before, so it's not mine, but it's wonderful. How many steps do you have to take in order to go where you are already at? You see? Even if it was one step, in which direction you have to take that step in order to go to where you are already? You see? So, self-inquiry, when it's practiced from the ego's perspective, from the sense of a me, it seems to be a questioning to see if I can find out who I am. And that is not really self-inquiry the way I see it. Self-inquiry is more like a process of elimination. I don't know who I am, but I know what I am not. See the difference? When the I am not is discarded, what remains is who I am. I am not my thoughts, or I'm not the thoughts. Okay, so I cannot say that I am the thoughts. Okay, so I'm not the feelings. You know, I am not the perception. What am I? Well, I am that in which feelings, thoughts, perception, even the question, how do I become what I am, appears in. You see? What matters is not make this not make it complicated or esoteric. Because then the mind says, when I become enlightened, I'm going to feel in a particular way. No, it's the most ordinary thing. This is it. But if you're resisting your present moment experience, I don't want to feel this way, I want things to be different, well, there's a strong identification with this me. And now, from that place of suffering is where the question comes, how do I get to know who I am? There's no need to get to know who you are because you already are. So again, self-inquiry would be more about, okay, a feeling is coming up. It's just that. A thought is coming up. It's just that. You see? But it's not the mind saying it's just that. You see, this is when it gets interesting, because that's still the mind, the identification of the individual who thinks that now is kind of understanding something. You see, that's what the words are gonna, I'm pointing to the fact that you are. Because then it becomes from an individual who's unconscious to an individual who seems to be more conscious, and he claims that knows better. Oh, I know who I am. No, none of that. It simply is, and that's it. When there's no identification with the content of the mind, it's not that you know who you are, it's that you're no suffering. There's no suffering. All there is life expressing experience, you know, as it's life expressing itself, that's all. And maybe if you hear this enough, then the realization is like, which is for nobody. Nobody would have a realization, but again, that's a limitation of language. Of course. That's why it says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You see, chopping wood, carry water is the activity of the human experience, but seen from a different, not even perspective, because there's no perspective. It's just simply being lived with a different mindset. I don't know. You see how words eventually just are always obstacles. You know, I don't know if they can point, but they're not the answer. You see, before you were identified with the content of the mind, and you were taking your kids to school, and you were worried, concerned, and everything. Then the shift happens in a sense that, which is not a shift that happens before and after, again, limitation of language, but there's a recognition that I am. You still take the kids to school, same thing, nothing changes. The only difference is that maybe all the thoughts that they were used to be invading or believed, you know, maybe they're not believed anymore, you see, but you still do the same thing, nothing changes. So we don't want to turn this, look at the drill from the construction downstairs, sorry, you know, so we're not trying to get to anything, you're not going to understand anything, it's just obvious, it's what is right now, your being, you see. And then it says meditation doesn't help. Again, because when meditation is used as an activity of the mind to try to get something, to become something, then the meditation itself is the obstacle. You see? But if meditation is used not as a practice per se, but it's a recognition that whenever I'm identified with the content of the mind, I can see, okay, this is just an identification. Well, to me, that would be meditation, kind of like active meditation. I don't have to sit down with my eyes closed to practice meditation. I am in a constant state of meditation. And maybe you may feel like I would like to sit with my eyes closed, but not because I'm going to achieve something, not because I'm going to become enlightened or something in the future, is because, at least for me, for example, many times sitting with the eyes closed allows me to just kind of look at the play and see how the mind works. That's it. I don't try to control the thoughts. I don't want them to push them away. I leave them just there because that's what they are. But me, it's a way of kind of just give myself a space to see, oh, see how the mind works. Oh, look at the thoughts appearing. You see? So that's one way of looking at it. But for many years I used to practice it sitting for 20, 30, 40 minutes or something, because I thought that that was going to give me, it's going to get rid of the suffering. But then when I get out of the meditation, the suffering comes back again. You see? Why? Because there's still an identification with a me. So when I was meditating back then, there was a meditator. Now there's no meditator. Now all that there is what is. The world, this is it. This is the meditation. You see? So that's why practices per se, self-inquiry or meditation, when they're done because the purpose is to achieve something, they're obstacles. But if they're used to investigate, then they're not obstacles. You know, once again, you notice that a thought appears, and in that moment you enter in meditation. How? You realize, okay, it's just a thought, it means nothing. See, that's meditation. And then the thought do what it does, appears, disappears, and you're fine. And self-inquiry, the same thing. Okay, there's a thought that says I should do A, B, and C. Okay, where's the thought appearing? Who is the one thinking that thought? Where exactly did the thought appear? And then you find out that it just simply appears, you see? Well, that investigation, that's what I would call self-inquiry, you see? And then it becomes so obvious. It could become obvious right now, literally, but you know, if you're still very identified with the content of the mind, with the identity, at least these are the pointers that I could offer, you know, so you can look and see through. But don't try to turn this into an activity in order for you to eventually recognize your true being, because then that one who wants to recognize the true being is the obstacle. The one who asked the question is the obstacle. The question itself is the obstacle. Do you follow? When you finally let go and don't care anymore, that's when you're ready for it. It's like the old analogy or metaphor or whatever, the example. When you're trying to recall a name, I have it at the tip of my tongue, I can't, what's that name? When finally you said, you know, who cares, and you let go and forget about it, then all of a sudden, boom, the name appears. You see? My roommate, she lost her wallet. She thought she did, but she felt that, I don't know, I don't think I lost it, but I remember I put it from my pocket, and she was looking for it. She even went to the police to let them know that if somebody finds it. And it was frustration, you know. So finally she let go, and, you know, so okay, I guess if it's supposed to appear, will appear, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then a couple of days later, she goes into her closet and take a jacket that she put in there, and the wallet was in there. You see? So technically speaking, these videos are not encouraging you to do anything in order to become, because that'll keep bringing more frustration. If anything, it's just let go. You know what, who cares? I don't know who I am. I don't have to know who I really am. I'm not interested in finding out who I am, because I am, you know. The only thing is I see now how in the play, I've been thrown all sorts of different curveballs. I mean, health issues showed up, you know, financial issues showed up, all uncertainties of any kind, all that stuff began to show up, you know. And then you look at it like, okay, this is what is. And interestingly enough, all that I am is here. And in this here, you see how all this stuff kind of solve themselves. And if I need to do something, supposedly me doing something, which is to be an inspiration, I find myself doing something, and then maybe that helps for some of the things to solve. You see? But I'm always here. This is it. This is not about living in the now. This is not about that, because then again, the mind turns it into, oh, I gotta be in the now. You know, you're always in the now. I mean, if there's anything other than the now, I mean, literally, if there's anything other than the now, well, then you're always in the now. So let's take that out of the way. You're just being right now. Aren't you being right now? While you're listening to this information, aren't you being? Well, then there you go. That's your answer. How do I stop believing? You said over here, how do I recognize my true being? There you are. Are you not being right now? Or you think that being should look in a particular way. You see, that's a trap. Or you should feel in a particular way. If I was being, I would never get sick. If I was being, I would never have financial experiences that could be whatever you want to label them. If I'm being, everybody is going to love me. If I am being, I'm going to be loving everybody. And no, just the human experience is duality, and you're going to have all kinds of feelings, sensations, and thoughts will appear. But being is in which all of that seems to appear and disappear, like the 4th books of a series. I am in which everything seems to appear and disappear. Well, there you go. You're being right now. You're being while you're listening to me. You're being while you even agree or disagree with me. You're being even if you're feeling upset or if you're feeling happy. Doesn't matter. You're being. That's the point. You see, that's the answer. Now, when that is clearly established, then the title of these videos, The End of the Search. The search is over. Okay, well, this is the inspiration that came through. I hope it served, and I hope, like always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.